They lied? What'd they lie about? Well, let's check this out. Let's check this news out. Alright.
Previously on Starhers.
Initiate self-destruct protocol.
nerdrotic.com.
Greetings, you over 845,000 practitioners of common sense and the 40% who haven't subscribed yet. Let's talk about, unfortunately, Ahsoka again. Originally, I had no intention of talking about this episode because, quite frankly, nothing happens until Disney, inexplicably and unintentionally, told on themselves. And I know, I can hear you, there isn't much to talk about with this entire series outside of another Disney Star Wars character, so intentionally told on...
Hold on, Bob Iger. Investors sue over fraudulent streaming costs. Ahsoka draws 14 million views for the first episode.
themselves. And I know, I can hear you, there isn't much to talk about with this entire series outside of another Disney Star Wars character surviving a gut shot from a lightsaber, which are essentially wet noodles now. No, the bigger news is we did get some ratings. According to Samba TV, 1.2 million U.S. households watched the premiere over 6 days, which is interesting because there seems to be a bit of a discrepancy with the other ratings that were reported over the very same week. According to Disney, the Ahsoka premiere received 14 million views. And who is Disney's source for this information? Well, it's Disney. Disney lies as Star Wars dies, but is this what they're lying about? Maybe. We'll get into it, but since we're here, let's go over Ahsoka. Don't worry, it won't take long.
They could be telling the truth.
The good news is Ahsoka Episode 3 is just over 29 minutes. The bad news, considering how much story is actually in it, it's still too long. But there is the added bonus of having fewer men than in the previous 2 episodes. After a minute-and-a-half recap, which is essentially the entire plot of the first 2 episodes, we open up with a Jedi training scene, and it looks like Sabine is shaking off that lightsaber injury, and it didn't take him long to pull out another member berry. Hey, remember Star Wars? Not to be confused with The Force Awakens, which is essentially A New Hope, except this time with a girl. We have yet another callback scene to A New Hope, except this time with women.
Here, put this on. I can't see. How am I supposed to fight?
This is followed by a girl boss to girl boss scene between General Hera and Mon Mothma, who's getting some of that good space plastic surgery. She's joined by a very diverse group of New Republic senators, and apparently Hera needs to convince the immortal Mon Mothma and her very diverse group of senators for help.
It's just funny. Everything he's saying is things that I notice when I'm watching. It's like, after you've been seeing the agenda stuff for a while, you see it. It's just planted in certain areas, and you're just like, okay. You know, it's like even the movies that people will say, like, it's not woke, they'll say that. It's like, you'll realize, though, on the barest bones level, it will be. You know what I mean? It'll just be, like, so diverse sometimes in certain areas. It's just like, you see the box checks. You know what I mean? And a lot of times it's nothing that makes a difference to the story, but you just see the box checks, you know. The things that are pissing people off usually, though, are the changes that do make a difference for these stories. You know, so it's just funny.
Despite Hera just returning from a major intergalactic incident where Imperial sympathizers had infiltrated a major shipyard and were there long enough to construct a hyperdrive bigger than anything the New Republic had made, preceding that a valuable prisoner who knows the location of Grand...
That's an intimidating bitch right there. Look at him. Look at the size of this dude. You got the badass beard and everything. This dude... hopefully they don't, you know what I mean, just make him some BS side character that don't never do nothing, you know what I mean? We'll see, only time will tell.
Admiral Thrawn escapes with the help of 2 Force users Ray Stevenson and his poodle, who went on to kill the entire crew and scuttle the ship. Sound the alarms. The Corellia shipyard should be shut down immediately. Reinforcements should be called in. Everyone should be on high alert. There should be inquiries. Somebody get on the phone to Han, Luke, and Leia. What do the very diverse New Republic senators say?
Nah, it'll be fine.
Meanwhile, back to more women in space. We have women sitting around tables and talking about the Force, which apparently is something everyone can use now. This is followed by sitting around and talking in cockpits, and this is where Hera lets Ahsoka know that they're on their own. And we're also halfway through the episode. It turns out all the women who were looking for the balls end up converging on a ring. I guess I can say something good to be fair. We didn't go back and forth between the capital of Lothal and Sabine's mid-desert luxury apartment 4 times, and the actresses discovered facial expressions. But that's it. Now to one of the dumbest space battles in all of Disney Star Wars, and that's saying something. But first, Disney Plus analytics dictate there needs to be another member berry. Hey, remember Star Wars? Yet another callback to A New Hope and the...
I didn't notice that part, but I realized this part, though. Like, when she's shooting, she's like, woo! I was like, they all do that.
I got him!
Except this time, with women. And we get a girl-on-girl space dogfight, but I guess in this case it'd be a catfight. Ray Stevenson's Pomeranian is unable to stop our heroes, but not to worry. Girl boss Morgan Elsbeth is on the case.
Stay clear. I shall deal with them.
Look at his Padawan. I swear his apprentice never blinks, just like Darth Maul. I don't think you ever see Darth Maul blink. I think she is a female Darth Maul. That's what they're trying to do with her. They gave her the same shot, you know what I mean, with the thing coming up to her. I bet you.
Prepare turbo lasers.
Unfortunately, girl boss Morgan Elsbeth's turbo lasers are unable to get the job done, yet they did disable Ahsoka's ship. And what's Ahsoka's big plan to get out of this jam? Put on a spacesuit, go out on the wing of the ship with their lightsabers. The only thing distracting is how fast she got that spacesuit on. And I want you to keep in mind that the clear objective has always been to stop Ahsoka, and the best way to do that would be to destroy her ship and kill everyone on it. So when Ray Stevenson's little Maltese dog says this,
We have them.
does Ray Stevenson's Bichon Frise order all 3 ships to take the clear shot they have and blow that space U-Haul into oblivion? Or does the little pug engage Ahsoka and her lightsabers so she can easily chop one ship in half doing some space gymnastics and easily get away? If you chose the latter, you're watching Disney Star Wars.
Thank you.
Well, considering the ratings, you're...
You know, I ain't gonna lie, I actually liked that part. But I think, was I watching Heels versus Babyface? I think it was him. And he was like, well, basically said that, like, instead of staying at a distance and taking the shot and destroying the ship, they move in close. And I was like, oh yeah, that is a bad idea. Like me, I'm just looking at it, you know, I turned the brain off and just start watching the shit. So I'm like, okay, she did some stuff, all right, she throwing the flips, okay, Ahsoka. I wanted her to do the whole Leia Mary Poppins. I'm like, why'd she have to turn the ship? Couldn't she have forced herself back to the ship? Like, I don't, you know, whatever, but.
You're probably not. You know, I have an editor. Quarter Black Garrett can fix that scene right now.
Boom.
Anyway, our heroes are able to escape Ray Stevenson's Papillon with the help of some hyperspace whales. And the big revelation of this episode, the hyperspace ring was indeed a hyperspace ring. Something the audience knew since the previous episode, but it took our female force this long to catch up. Yeah. And that wraps up another vapid, pointless...
Isn't that weird? Like, we knew it right away. I was like, if you guys are with me on, you know, memberships or Patreon, you know, so I was like, it looks like one of those Obi-Wan, the thing Obi-Wan used in the Clone Wars or whatever, to, you know.
Bland women in space, and it's on brand for D+, quite frankly. It usually ranges from incredibly forgettable to incredibly cringe. Can't imagine why Disney Plus is a massive failure and won't turn a profit for the foreseeable future. But don't worry, the news gets worse for Disney. To be fair to Disney, although they don't deserve it, when they greenlit Ahsoka, I highly doubt they knew at the time that they needed this to be a massive hit. I'm not sure if you've noticed, but Disney's had a catastrophic year. Disney needs a W in the worst way. Unfortunately, Ahsoka is the opposite of that. And Ahsoka just provides more evidence, not that we needed it, that Disney Star Wars is a dead brand owned by a dead Disney subsidiary, Lucasfilm, which is owned by a damaged parent corporation, Disney. Let's briefly go back to Samba TV's ratings, which are far from perfect, but unfortunately the best we have. Samba TV tracks what appears on the user's TV by reading pixels and utilizing this data for personalized recommendations on the TV or mobile apps connected to the television. This capability extends to streaming programs and even video games. Again, according to Samba TV, Ahsoka was watched by 1.2 million US households over 6 days. That's an average of 200,000 views a day. Now let's compare it to other Disney Star Wars shows like Obi-Wan, which was watched by 2.14 million US households in 4 days, averaging 535,000 views a day. Then there's the Book of Boba Fett, which was watched by 1.7 million US households over 5 days, averaging 340,000 a day. Ahsoka, the show Disney needed to be a big hit, is tracking with Andor, the show that was critically acclaimed. And some people liked it, but most people didn't watch it.
I know that a lot of you are probably like, why is he going by Samba's numbers? The reason why is because companies fudge their own numbers all the time. All the time. If you don't know what fudge means, it means they inflate them or decrease them or give you whatever numbers they want to give you to let you think that they're doing well. Always remember that. That damn Captain Marvel debacle. So, could Disney be telling the truth? Absolutely. But the fact that companies lie about their numbers and companies have been caught lying about their numbers, you can't always trust them. This is what it is. They got to go with Samba, the third party.
Ahsoka's numbers are down 29% from The Mandalorian Season 3 and 50% from Obi-Wan. And to rub it in a little more, because you always want to kick a giant corporation when it's down, let's compare it to Secret Invasion. The Disney Marvel show with the second lowest ratings on the platform got 994,000 views over 5 days, averaging 198,000 views.
Lord!
That is just 2,000 less a day than Ahsoka. In response, Disney decided to take a page out of Amazon's playbook. You remember when they announced that 25 million people watched the Rings of Power season premiere? Well, Disney has revealed some numbers. For the first time ever, claiming the Ahsoka premiere over 1 week received 14 million views, whatever that means. Of course, this information comes from Disney. Source, trust me, bro.
When a streamer like Netflix says, we're not going to release our numbers, it's because they're screwing someone over somewhere.
That's true, Sean Gunn, and that might be happening to actors and writers, but I think it's far more likely to be happening to investors and shareholders. And every single streamer, in my opinion, is doing that. Doesn't make it right. Listen, I don't know what the truth is. I just know that Disney isn't telling it. What makes me say that? Well, coincidentally, on the same day that Disney announced Ahsoka had 14 million views, from Deadline, Disney, Bob Chapek, hit with another investor suit over fraudulent streaming costs. Poor Disney, they just can't catch a break. Disney has been hit again with another lawsuit from investors over the alleged sleight of hand accounting the company has used to hide streaming losses. And once again, some big names, Bob's past and present, are being spotlighted. Now, I'm no financial analyst or a lawyer, but I think the technical term here is they're f***ed. Why? Because this isn't the first lawsuit, and it might not be the last. There have already been at least 2 previous lawsuits in the same vein, one of them coming in the last couple of months. Remember when they fired CEO Bob Chapek in the middle of the night on a Sunday and brought back Papa Iger? Big Papa Iger? How's that working out for you? Oh, not so well. Disney struggles as stock falls to 9-year low and park attendance slows. Wall Street asks, why not make a clean break? Well, it's too late for that because Disney's already broken. Since the weatherman Bobby Iger has come back, things have gone straight down and it couldn't happen to a nicer guy. I call that justice. From Disney's most recent earnings report, page 7, lower operating income at our domestic parks and resorts was attributable to a decrease at Walt Disney World Resort. I wonder what caused that. But wait, there's more. Also on page 7, the decrease at our merchandising licensing business was due to lower revenue from merchandise based on Star Wars, Toy Story, and the Avengers. And now, thanks to his comments during the strike, Bobby Iger, the former toast of Tinseltown, is now its biggest villain. And no, Disney, don't blame the strike and that lack of promotion for all your failures. I just want to remind everyone that Barbenheimer did happen. 2 massive hits that came out the same weekend that didn't have any promotion during their runs. But not to worry, following Ahsoka, we get Harvey Weinstein's former personal assistant, Leslie Headland's The Acolyte.
So my character, you know, she's a powerful leader. She's a powerful leader. Yes.
Not all of them. Not all of them now.
In a very woman-centered world, which I was very excited to kind of be that, because I feel like Star Wars is very like patriarchal, so it was kind of cool to have like this sort of woman-centered figure.
Jane, you ignorant
Makes
slut.
no sense. Makes no sense.
I mean, the best parts about Star Wars is there is no good or evil. It depends on what side you're standing on.
Hate to break this to you, but after 10 years, it's pretty clear that Disney can't make Star Wars, but what they're really good at is killing it. Maybe you shouldn't have lied to your audience and put Han, Luke, and Leia in a scene together. Maybe you shouldn't have canceled LucasArts and the EU. Maybe you should have...
I gotta say, that's one of the most disgusting scenes I've ever seen in a movie, period. Squeezing an alien titty for blue milk or whatever it is, green milk. I'm colorblind, by the way. I really am. So some colors I get mixed up. Disgusting.
Fired Kathleen Kennedy when you had the chance. Maybe you shouldn't have turned a boys brand into a girls brand that neither like anymore. Maybe you should have listened to the fandom instead of making them your enemy. It's not a question of whether the Star Wars fandom is split anymore. It's a question of how many are left.
Yeah.
They decided they didn't want to use those stories. They decided they were going to go do their own thing, and so I decided, fine. But basically, I'm not going to try to... They weren't that keen to have me involved anyway, but at the same time I said, I'm not going to... If I get in there, I'm just going to cause trouble. Because they're not going to do what I want them to do. So, and I don't have the control to do that anymore, and all I would do is muck everything up. So I said, okay, I will go my way, and I'll let them go their way. And it really does come down to a simple rule of life, which is when you break up with somebody, the first rule is no phone calls. The second rule, you don't go over to their house and drive by to see what they're doing. The third one is you don't show up at their coffee shop or the things like you're going to run it. You just say, no, gone, history, I'm moving forward. Because every time you do, and you know, we all learn this from experience, every time you do something like that, you're opening the wound again. And it just makes it harder for you.
True.
You have
He's
to put it
right.
behind you, and it's very,
Listen to
very,
him.
very,
He's
very
right.
But you have to just cut it off and say, okay, end the ball game. I got to move on. And everything in your body says, don't, you can't. And these are my kids. So
all those Star Wars films.
All the Star Wars films.
They were your kids.
Yeah, well, they are, right?
They are.
I loved them. I created them. I'm very intimately involved in them, and obviously to
and you sold them.
I sold them to the white slavers.
nerdrotic.com.
Oh boy, this is what it is, folks. God, hey, everyone, here's a toast to 2024 being the year that all of these woke companies get their heads out of their asses and bring us great entertainment again. Cling, cling. Thank you, Nerdrotic. Go to Nerdrotic, subscribe, tell them Tyrone Magnus sent you. And if you enjoyed my reaction and thoughts to this, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, and ciao. 2 million subscribers. Woo!